You've watched someone run the same diet as you. We are talking about the same calories and same structure. In fact, you were sometimes stricter, but he got results and you didn't. The answer you'll find everywhere is that you weren't following it properly. You need more discipline, more consistency, and to just try harder. That answer is wrong, or at least the least interesting part. The diet's probably mostly fine. The problem is it was built for the version of you that doesn't exist yet. My name's Adam. I have a master's in performance nutrition. I've helped over 200 men lose fat and keep it off. Today, I want to take you way beyond calories in versus calories out. And I'm going to show you why the same diet is not working for you. And here's what makes it strange. The men I work with who struggle the most are not undisciplined. They're the opposite. CROs, partners, and executives, even CEOs. They are the men who execute at a high level everywhere else. They build systems, hit targets, manage teams. Of course, they know how to sustain effort over a long period of time. If discipline alone determined this, they'd have cracked it years ago. So why does a thing that works everywhere else fail here? That's the question nobody asks. And it's the answer that tells you everything. So Steve was a chief revenue officer at a tech company. If you met him, the last thing you'd think is that he struggled with fat loss. Somewhat cliche in the fact that Monday to Thursday, he was immaculate. 4 boiled eggs and berries for breakfast. A chicken salad or a soup for lunch. Protein and veg for dinner. And he was deliberately undershooting his calories because he said that he wasn't that hungry anyway. And he meant it. But this wasn't someone performing discipline. This was someone executing a system. The Friday evening, the family ordered takeaway. His daughter had been baking cookies on the counter, and he had some. But Friday wasn't the issue. The cookies weren't the issue. Saturday then went untracked and unplanned. And Sunday was just reactive, just trying to compensate for Saturday without ever actually committing to it. Now Monday, that was Steve's restart. He'd been running this exact pattern for months. Always broke at the same point and always started again on Monday. He was genuinely baffled. When I asked him about it, he said there were just too many temptations at the weekend. And because he'd been so disciplined during the week, he felt like he had earned it. Like the deficit was sitting in a bank somewhere. I asked him one question. What does Monday feel like when you restart? He didn't say he was dreading it, but instead he was relieved to get back at it. And that was the clue, not the calories or even the cookies, the relief. So Steve wasn't weak on Friday, he was depleted. There's a distinction in the research between two kinds of motivation. Behavior that feels chosen, that sits inside a sense of who you are. And there's the behavior that feels imposed. The first is self-sustaining, and the second runs on willpower, and willpower has a daily limit. Steve was running on borrowed behavior. Monday to Thursday, he was sustaining a version of himself, disciplined, clean, precise, and that took a real effort to maintain. Every day that version held, the cost was accumulating, and not in calories, but in the psychological debt of performing a self that wasn't his yet. By Friday, after 4 days of that, settling down wasn't Steve being weak, but it was the predictable mechanics of what happens when the debt gets called in. And his word for Monday, relief. That was the giveaway. That's what returning to your real self feels like after a week of performing a different one. The plan breaking at the exact same point every week isn't random failure. It's a structural problem. And you can't fix a structural problem with more willpower. So the lean man you're comparing yourself to isn't on a better plan. It isn't the knowledge or the difference in knowledge. He's living inside a different self-story. Studies on long-term fat loss maintainers, the people who lose weight and actually keep it off, consistently find the same thing. They describe themselves as someone who just eats this way. And that shift in language isn't just to sound cool, it predicts whether this behavior survives when motivation drops. They're not asking, can I hold this together today? They're not asking anything. Their behavior has become default. It's been absorbed into their identity rather than just being a sustained effort. But there's a second piece that almost nobody talks about. It's not just internal. The lean man is often embedded in a different social environment. His reference group eats the way he eats, and then the behavior is reinforced from the outside as well as the inside. Going out for dinner doesn't feel like a minefield because he's eating well. It's just what the people around him do. And your environment might be working against you in ways you haven't fully accounted for. This is not because the people around you are bad influences, but because the social default you're living inside treats weekend overeating as normal, then treats strict eating during the week as unusual, treats your Thursday night discipline as something that earns you Saturday. The plan didn't just have to survive your body, it had to survive your life. This is a gap between the diet and the lifestyle. And I know exactly what Steve's relief felt like. I've lived through both sides of this. In 2018, I went keto, like full keto, ketosis, whatever you want to say. I was measuring ketones. I knew from the start I couldn't maintain it. I just knew. But I thought I could override that with enough focus. Like, it became a bit of a challenge for me. I was a black belt in Kung Fu. Well, I still am technically. Barely missed a day of training and had done really strict plans before, like years ago. I was meant to be disciplined. So I'd been at some convention. I'd ordered a beef teriyaki at a food market. Well, the food market was in the convention. I asked for no rice and way less sauce. I said, just a little bit of sauce. It came with a rice and a lot of sauce, probably more than most people. But I demolished it. It felt impossible not to because I'd been in a sustained performance and it had run out. Imagine not eating carbs for several weeks, then going to a Japanese food place and trying to avoid it. And the environment piece took me longer to understand, which is exactly what makes it dangerous. For years, I kept pistachios and cashews on my desk. Healthy enough, right? It's not exactly chocolate. Not when you go through an entire packet a day without even realizing it. That was like 1,200, 1,400 extra calories. I also had the cupboard full of what I called healthy snack. Like, you know, those bars and stuff like that. Things I'd reach for because they weren't biscuits. But I was massively overeating them and wondering why I wasn't progressing. Here's what I understand now that I didn't understand then. It wasn't a willpower failure. It wasn't a design failure. The environment I was living in was built for a different version of me, one who'd already made the identity shift. I was trying to perform lean eating inside a kitchen stocked for someone who wasn't yet thinking that way. When I stopped buying them, everything changed. Not because I suddenly found willpower I didn't have before, but because the friction disappeared and the behavior I was trying to build stopped competing with the environment I was living in. Now, just over 2 years after the keto disaster, I started eating differently. High protein, high fiber meals that were filling. I didn't avoid carbs. I actually ate way more carbs than I probably had ever eaten. At some point, without a clear moment of transition, that just became how I ate. This wasn't a diet, just the food I ate. The difference between those periods wasn't knowledge or effort. It was whether the behavior felt like mine and whether my environment had made it harder or easier. And most men try to close the gap by getting stricter. They introduce tighter rules and more rigid structures. Now this just adds more friction, which makes the performance harder to sustain and makes Friday feel even more necessary. The gap doesn't close that way. It closes through evidence. Small repeated experiences show you this behavior is survivable. that you can eat this way at a restaurant or a certain way and it's fine. At a work lunch and it's fine. On holiday and it's fine. Each time you do, you're not just following a plan, you're adding to a growing body of evidence about who you are and what you can do. The environment piece is the same logic applied outward. What are you keeping on your desk? What's in the cupboard by default? What does the kitchen look like on a Friday evening before the family orders? You already know these are architecture questions, not willpower questions. What you can now see is why changing the architecture works, because every time you make the right choice frictionless, you're not just avoiding a bad decision. You're collecting evidence that this is survivable, that this is you. Steve didn't change by tightening the plan. He actually ended up eating a lot more food, and he was eating a lot more food groups. He no longer saw extra cookies as a permission to relax for the rest of the weekend. They were part of life, and so was eating his usual breakfast the next morning. Now the plan stopped feeling like discipline and started feeling like him. And that's a shift. But this isn't a plan just for Steve. It's available to any man who's been trapped in a Monday restart loop, not by trying harder, but by understanding what the loop is actually made of. And this is the biggest reason a plan that works for him doesn't work for you. Why that influencer's full day of eating is irrelevant. It's just entertainment. And if you've enjoyed this video, subscribe and watch this one next. I'll see you there.